Jesus is an alien? That was the latest claim made by Billy Carson to Patrick Bet-David. Now you may be asking, who is Billy Carson? Well, Billy Carson is the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, Inc. And Forbidden Knowledge is responsible for bringing you amazing products like these Coachella grounded flip-flops for only $29.99, or the $99 High Energy Soul Classic, where you can step into fitness, get more energy, and increased chi balance. Or this alchemical elixir of the Unaki, which promises to give you more energy and super conductivity for only $84. Or my favorite, his high energy water energizer at an affordable $795 to help your water get back its natural energetic structure. Now I'm being silly here by pointing out some of Billy Carson's ridiculous products, but he is gaining a lot of influence with a lot of people. With his recent appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, which we've already discussed, to now on the PBD podcast, where he makes the claim that Jesus was actually an alien. But there's a deeper reason why so many are flocking to Billy Carson, despite some of his ridiculous takes and his awful products. But before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God, to actually live your life in a way that brings honor to God. All right, so if you're new here or if you're not new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a huge percentage of the people that watch this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. All right, let's get into this reaction, and then I'll explain to you the deeper reason why these sorts of ideas are so pervasive. All right, so this is the first clip. This is actually the full podcast, Billy Carson, Patrick Bet-David, Valuetainment, and I'm gonna play you guys the intro and a couple of different clips from it, and then we'll get into some of the meat.
I don't know how to introduce my next guest here today. We're talking about ancient civilization, aliens. You think Jesus was an alien?
I think Jesus was half human, half alien, and I'll tell you why. Biblical text, also with the Torah, the Quran. Why are they saying the same identical things as the ancient tablets? We keep slapping our ancient ancestors in the face, doubting their wisdom and doubting their understanding of what really happened.
Okay. So Jesus was half alien, half human. Now, Billy Carson has made a lot of outlandish claims. That is one of them. And he keeps talking about these tablets. Here's in summary what he believes. He believes that long time ago, aliens came to Earth and they basically brought over all the technology that you saw for things like the pyramids. And there's these old tablets that recorded all of this. The issue is the tablets don't really share that story. A lot of this is kind of nonsensical views, and because they're not written tablets. There's like pictures, right? So that's it. We've covered the video before on the Blessed God Studios channel in terms of what he believes about this stuff. So that's basically what he believes. And so therefore his conclusion is Jesus was half alien, half human, okay? Now, we're going to get into why people are flocking to this. Because, by the way, this has almost 1 million views in one day.
Sheesh. Okay,
1 million views in one day on Valuetainment. And unfortunately, Patrick Bet-David is entertaining this sort of stuff, even though Patrick is a Christian. Right? And so very little pushback in this conversation. And we'll get into why when we look at this next clip. So here he gets into one of the reasons why this is, and then you'll kind of start picking up the views around his kind of tactics in this conversation. Go ahead.
Jesus really would say something like that. I don't. I think that his message was pure and clean and clear, that he was trying to usher back a level of Christ consciousness back in humanity. And that's the return. The second return is when we all reach a level of Christ consciousness. That's when Jesus...
What is he talking about? Christ consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? You are one with the universe. The universe is God. You are God. You are the universe because you're one with the universe. There's one consciousness. Right? So what does this do? This, instead of seeing God come down and dealing with the issue of sin like we see in the incarnation story and we see in the gospel story, this is elevating man to a place of being God. This is the oldest lie. This is the foundational deception that's happening in the garden. Billy Carson is positioning the Christ consciousness. This is Eckhart Tolle. This is what Kendrick was on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This is the worldview that's being perpetuated. It's new age nonsense. It's instead of seeing the distinction between creator of the universe and creation, it's trying to raise creation to the level of creator, capital C creator.
He comes back in our minds. Not in a physical form.
Comes back in our minds.
And
like this is not in physical form. So he's denying the bodily resurrection. That's not his most egregious statement, though. Go ahead.
Take his words and skew it around to make it okay for slavery. I think that's a big thing where we see now the injection of human minds, not the creator of the universe. So you have to be discerning with the biblical text.
Who is Jesus to you? In your eyes, who is Jesus?
His name is Yeshua, okay? Jesus is, first the J is a recent letter. The J is not that old. So it really was originally Isus. And that name, Isus, means hail.
So now he's getting into the weirdo conspiracy that it's actually, Jesus is actually Zeus, and we're blending Greek mythology. And again, if you ever watched the channel like Inspiring Philosophy, shout out to Mike Jones over at Inspiring Philosophy, he's debunked so many of this dude's claims, and I really hope that he does another in-depth academic level video of debunking these things. What you're going to find is not a lot of scholars, not a lot of aspects of history, and unlikely you're ever going to see a Billy Carson willing to debate someone on his claims. And the reason why this stuff is pervasive is a tactic he uses in terms of these podcast appearances. What Billy Carson will do is he'll hop on and he'll just stonewall a bunch of random facts. These tablets say this and this about this and this, and then he'll make really silly claims like the name God is a mistranslation and it's actually God's. And every time you see God in the Old Testament, it's actually God's. And so the issue with that is very simple, that when you see the name Lord, capital Lord, that's actually the name Jehovah or the name Yahweh. That is not plural. There is a version of God or Elohims. Michael Heiser does a lot of work on this. And so what he's doing is, instead of giving Patrick Bet-David, who I don't think was well equipped for this conversation, unfortunately, and we'll get into why, not why he wasn't ill-equipped, but why he's getting these sorts of views, is because he's just spitting out a bunch of random information at you without you being prepared to trace down every single information. It would be like if we were having a conversation about nutrition and I was telling you all the reasons why you should eat a specific diet, and I just started spewing out, well, you know, dairy is bad and chicken is good and avocado is great, but processed food is bad. And then I made like an outlandish statement, and then you wouldn't have the chance to sit and trace back what I was saying because I just stonewalled you with a bunch of information. And we have, in a real conversation with someone like this, you have to be able to stop and go down each rabbit hole and say, where did you get that? How did you come to that conclusion? What is your source on this? Oh, you mean your source is a lot of you. It's a lot of you and how you interpret these tablets that have pictures on them in a language that doesn't exist anymore, right? Yeah. It's a lot of your information. But the deeper issue why this stuff is so pervasive, outside of the tactics and the way he communicates, is the very last point he gets to, which is, to my opinion, even worse than the Christ consciousness. And this is extremely appealing to our natural senses. Go ahead and play this.
Comic strip inside of it, and I realized something. I said, wow, I'm going to save myself. There's nobody coming to save me. I am my own savior. And that changed my life forever. And that same
7 years old?
7 years old. My mom saw me.
So I am going to save myself. This is the foundation of the world paradigm, that if I can't be God through Christ consciousness and New Age nonsense, then the other side is, in a materialistic standpoint, I am my own savior. I don't need anything outside of myself. I can fix my situation. I can save myself, ignoring the awful condition that we're in because of sin, ignoring the state of the world because of evil, and in all of that, recognizing and humbling ourselves that we need a savior. We need something from outside of ourselves to save us. If you're drowning in the ocean, you're not going to make it. And that's the unfortunate state of humanity, is that we are out in the ocean drowning because of sin, because of our own sin, and we need someone to rescue us. So you can't rescue yourself if you're out in the middle of the ocean. Even if you're the best swimmer in the world, eventually you're going to drown. And so this is extremely appealing to people that want to be self-sufficient, that want to be about themselves and their ego and their way of handling things. Because what it does is, this paradigm, this new age, or I'm my own savior, what it does is you don't have to submit to anything. There's no standard you actually have to live up to. Jesus kind of gave some good advice, and his message was pure until the Greeks and these people corrupted it and the Bible was mistranslated. And by the way, all of this goes back to Billy Carson being the source of this. All of this makes Billy the one that really knows the information. He really has the secrets. All along, he's selling you weird elixirs and $100 souls and water filtration systems to put the energy back in your water. It makes him the source of all information and all knowledge. And the last reason why this stuff is so pervasive, and you're going to see more of this, is because Billy Carson does numbers. He does numbers. This, again, we could bring it full circle. He has over almost 1 million views on this in a day.
Yeah.
And you see the like to dislike ratio. So a lot of people are hate watching this, believe it or not, right? As kind of I am in making this video, ironically enough, right? So you see the like and dislike ratio, but he is pulling in numbers. He's being polarizing. He's being controversial. He's making crazy hyperbolic statements, and many people want to hate watch in a way. And so that's why this stuff is pervasive. And so on that note, if we want to see things that are going to get pushed up the algorithm that are wholesome and biblical and actually pointing people to the God of the scriptures, maybe not in the way that you would perfectly agree with every single sentiment, but at least it's going in the right trajectory, I would highly encourage you guys to check out my recent appearance on the George Janko podcast. And I'm hoping that by the grace of God, when guys like myself, when guys like John McCrae, when guys like Mike Jones, when guys like Alan Parr are going on to these other podcasts, having conversations, that the numbers would rise to the point where a Patrick Bet-David, who's at the end of the day, even though Patrick's a Christian, Patrick's a businessman. Patrick knows that Billy Carson is going to do numbers. So make sure you check out my conversation with George Janko. It's right over here. I think you will love this conversation. Shout out to George. Shout out to his amazing fiance, Bella. And it gets tense. There's some pretty, interesting things we have to talk about specifically. So go check that out and give it that a like, and make sure you leave a comment and all that kind of stuff. So when Christians get promoted in these conversations, the Christian message gets out, and that's ultimately our goal. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.